Namaste. Myself, Dr. Kajal Gupta. I welcome you all for the webinar on Swachhta and Yogic Concepts of Cleanliness, organized by National Institute of Naturopathy, Pune. This webinar is conducted under the activity of Swachhta Pakhwada, which is a part of Swachhta Abhiyan. Swachhta Abhiyan is launched by Government of India to ensure mass participation of citizens in Swachhta activities and to truly transform Swachh Bharat into citizens' movement. Taking the session forward, now I would like to invite Professor Dr. K. Satyalakshmi, Director NIN, to share her views and thoughts.
Namaste. In the Swachhta Pakhwada that NIN is organizing, we are going to discuss now about the link of Swachhta and Yoga. We all know that Patanjali Yoga Sutra starts with Yoga Chittavritti Nirodha. So, the Chitta, that is the mind, or the Chitta is in fact beyond mind, is Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta. There are 4 levels of this. At every level we accumulate lot of memory, and this memory keeps working continuously, and that ultimately manifests in our bodies. So, this mind body connection is well established now, and we know that we are working at the behest of this memory, this internal memory at cellular level, at molecular level, and it keeps playing. So, that memory which is disturbing will vitiate the whole scenario, I mean the internal mechanism of the body. So, in this connection, now learning yoga means learning to keep ourselves clean at this memory level, and while doing so we get not only rid of the internal toxins or the material that will trouble us, but we also be able to see things clearly, perceive them as they are, not as we want it to be. So, this kind of clarity will come, and then that will further reduce the burden on the body and our thinking. So, the whole concept of cleanliness comes from not outside, but then from within. So, this let us see how yoga experts are going to further explain on the mechanisms of cleanliness through yoga. And yoga, in Ashtanga Yoga we have yama niyamas. In that, in niyamas, it also very clearly talked about saucha, that is cleanliness. And in kriyas, kriyas also are meant to keep the body clean. There are certain methods and procedures. If they are performed systematically, we can eliminate toxins from the body and keep ourselves clean physically. But then mental and emotional cleanliness require much more practice, and that needs to be trained by a guru or master in yoga. So, let us understand these concepts of cleanliness from yoga perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for explaining today's topic of webinar. When we talk about cleanliness, it's not merely about clean environment or clean body, but a clean mind as well. We have with us our guest speaker for today's session, Dr. Apar Saoji. He is presently working as principal in the School of Yoga and Naturopathic Medicine, SVyasa, Bangalore. He has 10 plus years of experience in the field of naturopathy and yoga, and also has 15 plus publications on his name. He is also associate editor in CCRYN, Indian Journal of Yoga and Naturopathy. He is also a peer reviewer in various journals. I welcome you, sir, for today's session. So, moving to the next segment, we have today with us Dr. Apar Saoji. So, the topic for today's webinar is Swachhta and Yogic Concepts of Cleanliness. I welcome you, sir, for the webinar.
Namaste.
So, starting with our today's topic, I would like to ask you what are these concepts, yogi concepts of cleanliness?
Well, whenever we talk of cleanliness, essentially we talk of environmental cleanliness. Our Honorable Prime Minister has launched Swachh Bharat Abhiyan to clean the entire society. And once there is hygiene, uh, a lot of things are going to be transformed. It might look very odd that, the Prime Minister or even Mahatma Gandhi was so much emphasizing on Swachhata. But once there is cleanliness, the prosperity will be there. And therefore, essentially, whenever we talk of cleanliness, we talk of environmental cleanliness. Second, I think a lot of emphasis is already given on physical cleanliness. How we should stay hygienic and do our routine activities like taking bath or brushing our teeth and all of that. So there is again a lot of emphasis on physical hygiene and health. But what additional contribution yoga perhaps has to all this? Of course, yoga talks of environmental cleanliness, it talks of physical cleanliness. But in addition to all that, yoga talks of what is called as mental cleanliness. Okay, so that is an additional fascinating aspect of cleanliness that the yoga dimension brings in. And that is about, again, like what we said, if there is cleanliness, there will be prosperity. Yoga is basically regulating mind. So unless my mind is pure, I cannot progress to, having control or mastery over my mind. So that is the key that we talk here.
Okay. So, along with if we talk about mental cleanliness, like what exactly yoga has explained about environmental cleanliness? Is there like any references for that?
Yes, yoga talks of environmental cleanliness in terms of the place of practice. Now we are trying to imagining when the yoga texts were written uh, a few hundred or thousand years back. What was spoken in all these yoga texts is that the place of practice should be devoid of disturbances. Okay, if it is not clean, imagine we go to a place where there is rotten smell. Can I sit and focus my mind? It is not possible. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita talks about how the practice must be done in Shuchau Deshe Pratishtapya. So you need to establish yourself in a clean place. Okay. Also, Hatha Yoga talks about the concept of matha. Matha is the hermitage where somebody practices. And again, they talk about how it has to be in a good kingdom, Surajya Dharmika Deshe. And also, it should be devoid of disturbances. Okay. The physical disturbances are like, hazardous things and fire and all of that, but also cleanliness is given very much importance on. The hermitage has to be cleaned by the practitioner every day, and it should be, with cow dung, they should be plastering it so that uh, whenever they are practicing, there is no disturbance due to, say, a sensory disturbance, maybe a bad smell or something like that, or wherever there is a dirty environment. There is infestation of worms, there is infestation of flies, and all of that. So, say I'm sitting for practicing meditation, and then there is a mosquito biting and all of that, my practice is not going to be very comfortable one. That is very much emphasized in the yoga texts, both in Hatha Yoga as well as in Bhagavad Gita, there are references for environmental cleanliness.
Okay. So, like this, we talk about, as you said, the references are about environmental cleanliness. Along with that, how much role does this physical cleanliness plays, like when we are practicing yoga?
Well, there are yamas and niyamas that are discussed as the basic disciplines.
Hmm.
Okay, these are observations that one has to do, and the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which is considered to be a classical text of yoga, has a very specific mention of what is called as shaucha,
Okay.
cleanliness. And what is said very beautifully by Maharishi Patanjali is when we practice shaucha, it leads to anga jugupsa, and you are not so attached to your own body. Now, again, we'll have to understand it in context of the purpose of yoga,
Hmm.
which is to attain mental equilibrium. Okay, so if say I am not brushing or I am not taking bath, my body is uncomfortable. So again, I may not be able to sit and do practices for making myself more comfortable at the level of mind. And that is why it is spoken. Also, he says that by practice of mental purity, one acquires fitness, cheerfulness, and also that allows you to be one pointed, towards your goal you can go. So it's very important that we understand that yoga doesn't talk of only physical cleanliness. Also in Hatha Yoga, where it is not considered as a niyama, rather it is considered as a yama, uh, because the Hatha Yoga text talks of 10 different yamas and 10 niyamas, unlike Patanjali where it is 5 each.
Hmm.
So again, Shaucha is considered as a very important practice in yoga sadhana.
Okay. So it's like, along with, if we are talking only about physical cleanliness, then mental cleanliness as well as environmental cleanliness, all three are as important as, I mean, like if we are comparing these three.
Yes.
Okay. Like other than these three, does our food also plays an important role in the cleanliness or in purity again?
In fact, if we are talking of today's healthcare, majority of our problems that we face as yoga naturopathy physicians are because of impure food.
Yeah.
Okay, the impurities in the food at back then could have been infestations. Today we have chemicals, whether it is fertilizers or uh, the enzymes and all of that is put in the food. What is spoken and intriguing in yoga is the way food is described beyond calories in yoga. Okay, typically we understand food as a source of energy.
Hmm.
So whenever there is your petrol is empty, you go to a petrol bunk and fill it. So whenever the energy levels are low, you go eat and you're energetic. But why is then that? We start feeling drowsy after a heavy meal in a party.
Yeah.
So it's not that food is equal to energy. There is a lot more to that, and that is brought in by again very beautiful concepts of what is called as sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic food. And one has to shift to sattvic food uh, to attain a mental equilibrium. But a very very beautiful reference that comes from Chandogya Upanishad I would like to quote here. It says the coarsest part of food becomes feces and is excreted from the body.
Hmm.
The subtler part of food becomes flesh,
Hmm.
and the subtlest part of your food becomes mind. So, if you want to purify your mind, you have to eat pure food. Now, it's exactly what we are understanding with modern science as well. What we eat in food, the fibers they make large chunk of feces. Okay, and then we've got the nutrients part of it, which is distributed across the body in different organ systems, etc. But what is one step higher in yoga is the connect that it brings with the body and mind. So even food becomes a media to take care of the mind, is what is being spoken. So therefore, the cleanliness in food is very important for us. Also, I would also quote this, that the person who is cooking the food, their mood gets transformed into the food that someone is consuming. And therefore, if you are going in hotels frequently where the chefs are extremely busy and frustrated, you are going to have that kind of a mood. And therefore, if you want to have a pure mind, you should actually have pure food. So cleanliness is very, very important at the level of body and mind, and at the level of food as well.
Okay. So, what are the consequences of these? I mean, if somebody is not practicing these cleanliness practices, or if the food is not, like as you said, if we are going to a hotel and the chefs are not good, and if we are eating the same food, what are those consequences on a human body, like in terms of health?
Yes, in terms of health, what has been spoken, yoga understands the state of health as the state of balance.
Hmm.
Okay, again, in naturopathy also we talk of having balance of Pancha Mahabhutas. The combination of these Pancha Mahabhutas are basically Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Okay, and the imbalance of these, be it yoga, naturopathy, be it Ayurveda, we understand the basis
Hmm.
for any illness is that imbalance. Okay, and therefore it is very, very, very important for us to understand that if we do not follow cleanliness, we are going to have consequences in terms of either food or environment, or at the level of physical this thing, it will lead to ailments. Okay, an imbalance in the level of vata, pitta, and kapha initially, and then leading to some sort of physical problems. Okay, and therefore, I think the goal has to be attaining balance, and that balance is going to be very, very important uh, to attain health and also attain higher goals in life.
Hmm. Okay. So again, it's like, when we talk about all the types of cleanliness and we talk about health. So if somebody wants to take care of themselves, that they are going to need, they need to practice all this. And ultimately, like after, if I am taking care of myself and I can tell 10 more people to take care of themselves by in terms of purity or swachhata, yes, there will be effect globally too when we do this. So when we're talking about three dosha, like as you said, what are the yogic practices what we can do to balance those three doshas, or to balance, to make a balance between whatever mistakes we are doing?
Well, all practices in yoga are supposed to be helping you to attain that balance, whether it is asana, whether it is pranayama. Again, we have a pranayama which has Shuddhi in its name itself, Nadi Shodhana. Okay, so cleansing is essentially a part of everything that we do in yoga. But for cleansing specifically, we do have very specific practices that are narrated in Hatha Yoga. These are called as Shat Karmas or Shat Kriyas, these 6 different types of cleansing procedures. So, what has been explained in Hatha Yoga is we should be practicing these 6 cleansing techniques when there is an imbalance of doshas, and when there is a balance, we should not be doing them. Okay, and
Okay.
these 6 different cleansing techniques are supposed to help you to cleanse different organ systems. Like there is for the upper gastrointestinal tract, there is dhauti.
Hmm.
Okay, For the lower gastrointestinal tract, we've got basti.
Hmm.
Okay. For the nasal passage and the upper facial region, you have got neti. Okay. For eyes, we've got trataka. Okay. To strengthen the abdomen, because abdomen is considered to be a seat of all balance.
Hmm.
Okay, the samana vayu of the pancha pranas is situated in the abdomen. So we've got nauli there. Okay, and then the frontal sinuses, cleansing them, we have got kapalabhati. So of course there are subtypes of all these, and there is something called as jiva dhoti, rit dhoti, and all of that. So for every specific organ, there are cleansing techniques that are elaborated. Of course, when we also practice asanas, they help in terms of attaining that balance. Okay, because typically asanas are considered to improve flexibility and balance and all of that. But look at the classical explanation. Patanjali says, "Tato dvandva anabhigataha." The dualities vanish. Okay. So when the dualities are not there, naturally your mind is going to be calm, it is going to be cleansed. Okay. So ultimately, every practice that we do is with an intention of attaining a state of balance, the state of samatva as it is described in Bhagavad Gita. Also, that balance cannot be possible if we are unclean.
So, okay, taking the same question like forward, how exactly mental clutter affects our efficiency, and how can we tackle using yogic techniques those effects?
Well, one of the things that we understand is happiness is the state of our mind.
Hmm.
Okay, it's the causal state.
Yeah.
So when we talk of happiness as the causal state of our being stressed is an unclean, uncomfortable mental state. So every practice that we do in yoga, be it asana, be it pranayama, be it meditation, be it the practice of yama niyamas, the discipline, all of them are supposed to help us to get that state of equanimity, the state of harmony, the state of balance.
Hmm.
Okay. The whole objective of yoga, by definition, as it is given by Patanjali, is chitta vritti nirodha. It is to regulate the modifications of mind. Okay. Why do we do yoga? Mana prashamana upayaha yoga, to calm down the mind. So when you are calm, when you are comfortable naturally, you're not going to have that kind of an imbalance. Okay. And today, our problem is the impure thoughts. Okay. Every day we are exposed to so much of violence, negativity, so much of news coming around from all quarters, which is not positive. But the fact is, it is not that there is no positivity in the world. Okay, our way of looking at it is that we catch negativity very easily. Okay, and what yoga teaches you is to shift from that negative state of mind, which is unclean mind, to a pure mind.
Yeah.
Of course there are physical practices, of course there are mental practices, but all of them have to lead you to a pure personality overall, and only then we should be able to attain whatever the goals we have in our life, be it attaining the state of samadhi in yoga or the higher goals that we have in our lives. All of them can be achieved only when we are pure, we are having that cleanliness at the level of environment, at the level of our body as well as our mind.
Okay. So, just, I mean, like, as we talked about food and purity, can you just tell in brief, like, what kind of diet pattern can be followed by, people or by our viewers as per yogic? diet concept?
Well, there is beautiful explanation of what these diets are in Bhagavad Gita.
Hmm.
Also in Hatha Yoga, there is Sapatya and Apatya, things that you should be eating and you should not be eating. One of the things that is very important is that we eat with the sense of offering to Lord. Okay, across religions, this is a common practice that we pray before food. Okay, and there is a neurophysiological reason to it. Whenever you are eating, your parasympathetic nervous system should be active. So if you are stressed and you're eating between couple of meetings, you're naturally not going to digest your food well. Okay, and that is going to lead to toxins and impurity in the body. And therefore, eat with that sense of offering to Lord. Okay, pray before you eat, because every grain of food that we are getting is result of efforts of nature. All five elements in the right composures have to come together to form food.
Hmm.
Okay, right kind of seed has to go to the soil, and right amount of water and sunlight has to be there. So every grain of food is basically communicating the five great elements with every cell of our body.
Hmm.
And therefore, prayer is one part. Second part is what we should be eating. Something that is seasonal, something that is regional, something that is fresh, not overcooked, not having too much flavors. That is considered to be sattvic food. And what happens when we eat this sattvic food is it enhances ayu, your longevity, sattva, your inner purity. Okay, so once we shift to this kind of food, it is going to definitely help.
Okay. So, I would like to conclude. I mean, like, whatever you have said about physical cleanliness, environmental cleanliness, and as well as mental cleanliness, would you like to give a, takeaway message for our viewers? I mean, like, what exactly, we expect as a naturopathy and yoga physicians for them to do so that they can attain the goal, like final goal. Either it can be happiness or samadhi in terms of yoga.
Yeah, just before that concluding line, I would add something, another quote from Bhagavad Gita, which talks of, Sri Krishna. This is more of a spiritual dimension to cleanliness. He says, people who are clean mentally attain me faster, easier.
Okay.
Okay. So, how do we go for prayer? In any place of prayer, in any religion, we first purify ourselves and then reach. So that's the essence of it. So if we are pure, we are closer to God. That's what Gandhiji also said. Cleanliness is next to godliness. So that's exactly what yoga wants us to follow.
Hmm.
Be physically fit, be mentally strong, keep away negativity, eat healthy food which is pure. And what ultimately it is going to do is when individual's health is good, each individual, each citizen is basically making a country. Okay, so if my environment is clean, if my systems are proper, today with COVID again, we have so much of emphasis on building the immune system. Okay, if you're hygienic, if you're clean, if you're pure physically and mentally, naturally your immune system is going to be strong. Not just immune system, every system in your body is going to be strong. Okay, so whether you want to attain a spiritual goal or you want to have a simple physical goal of being fit, everywhere cleanliness is very, very important. Okay, so each one of us has something to contribute. Okay, taking care of our own body and mind is one part of it. Also contributing to the environment in which we live, making sure that we don't create a menace. to the environment that we are in is going to be another aspect of what we would want. Essentially, this is going to create a healthy community, a happy community, and that is what, be it yoga, be it naturopathy, or be it the government of India, everybody wants our citizens to be the greatest, and we can become Atmanirbhar by following cleanliness.
Yes. So thank you so much, sir, for throwing lights on a very important topic when we talk about Swachhta and what are the yogic concepts of cleanliness. So I'm sure that our viewers must get benefited from this, that how exactly they are supposed to, how responsible enough they are for the clean environment as well as for their own body. So thank you so much for giving us the time and be there with us like for the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank the Director, National Institute of Naturopathy, Ministry of Ayush, for conducting these awareness webinars for common people and bringing the essence of the science of yoga and naturopathy